Welcome. There's something I'd like to share with you today that I think is a very important conversation. And I decided I would jot it down because, to tell you the truth, I really have difficulty um, conveying what I want spontaneously and not feel like I'm leaving something out. Uh, writing, which is what I do, is a completely different terrain than than spontaneous speaking. And I can only speak spontaneously if I'm talking to another human. And so, since that's not the case at this moment, and what I want to talk about, I think is very meaningful, I'm going to do my best to share it with you with as much presence as possible. And it's brief. So let's give it give it a go. This presence can show up as a pattern. This me is just a spontaneously appearing experiential characteristic. Everything that appears in your experiential field is actuality. Sense of self may be poofed into existence, and it seems just as real as a cloud or dog poo on the bottom of a shoe. It's an apparition being poofed into existence in real time. This feeling of being a person doesn't have to go away. But when you look directly at this raw experience, you'll discover that it has no coherence. What does that mean? It means that it isn't stable like it appears to be. You look at a tree or a table, it appears stable and solid, but it's not. It's a flickering energy in the nameless flow of experiencing. And this can be played with, just stare at a solid blank wall without blinking. Just play with that experience, and you're going to notice I can't even tell you what's on there, but uh, there are these like kind of little dancing, they don't even have a name. So play with experience. And any pointers that you may read or hear people talking about this absence of self isn't trying to make the feeling of the person, it's not suggesting that the feeling of the person needs to go away. When you pause and openly look at this feeling of being me right here, right now, just pause for a moment. Just feel this. There is a felt sense of presence, but we can call it a me. We learned that, learning language. This is all part of the programming. But you can't find anything really solid that doesn't last more than a second or two. Uh, where is the me? I mean, you can, you can point to, well, um, here, but what is that? How is that a me? That's an idea that we've been trained to believe. So play with experience. See what thought is declaring. See how this presence that I call me is simply another flicker of this nameless flow of experiencing. I mean, that's what really becomes remarkable. No thing that we call a thing is actually a thing. You know, we give names and labels to things, and that's what creates the separation. We learned that. There's been no reflection on that. It's just what we believe is now true. So investigate that. This amazing appearance, this mix of energy is perceived as something and labeled, even though what's here is an undefinable energy pattern dancing with itself. Just notice this in this moment. Notice how thought will pipe up and say, "Oh, this shouldn't be here. There's no me. Uh, I shouldn't be." Whatever it says. I can't even remember uh, the thoughts that ran around here and were saying all sorts of things. I mean, they're just thoughts. And the less they're attached to, the less they're identified with, they just come and go. So nothing needs to be different than it is. What is really helpful is just seeing what truly is, seeing what is actual, seeing what is here in direct experience. You'll notice it's much simpler than thought makes it out to be. And there are no, what's the word when you think things have to be a certain way? Um, anyway, see, that's another example of just not being able to pull up words. But that's how this is expressing. So it's all just the flow of energy. And I'm happy to hear your questions, what you're pondering. I appreciate you being here, and thank you.